This is Brother Teacher. Sometimes it's difficult to uh, express oneself when you're talking about some sensitive subject matter. It's not easy, and there's no amount of preparation that could ever be adequate to talk to the masses of people about things that affect all of us, and even that have affected all of us on some level, as it relates to our individual lives, our lives socially, our lives in this particular nation that we love called America. So I want you to put on your thinking caps, as it were, and I want you to gird up your loins. If you want to pause the video right now and go and get you a glass of water, coffee, tea, your favorite beverage, or what have you, I want your attention for a moment, because what I'm going to say to you is really important. It's about standing your ground when you know the truth about the world in which you live in which we all live in, and when you must speak the truth, regardless of repercussions, regardless of being ostracized, regardless of hate speech against you, animosity, retribution, retaliation, speaking the truth anyway, just because it's the truth. Of course, we must be smart, we must be wise in how we say the things or express the things that we must express. Understanding, overstanding, comprehending that there are forces that are much greater than we are in power that exist on planet Earth. And anytime you go outside of the so-called official narratives, official stories, official belief systems, if you will, you're going to receive some backlash. You're going to receive some hostility. It's just the way it is. So, speaking truth to power is what I'm talking about. Are you free today, my brothers and my sisters? I don't care who you are. I don't care what your ethnicity is. I don't care what your color is, what your original place of birth is, what country you were born in, what your belief system is, where you find yourself on planet Earth, what country, what village, what city, state. It doesn't matter. You are still my brothers and my sisters. We are all part of the human family, the human race. There are some of you that will receive well what I'm saying, and there are others of you who have been conditioned, who have been brainwashed, and some of you who comprehend what I'm saying, but you choose to continue down the same path of destruction, regardless of what the truth is, even though it's standing right in front of your face. So, when you can't speak truth to the power, So when you can't speak truth to the powers that be, really you've lost your identity. Really, you probably don't know who you really are. Do you know who you are? Are you a coward? Do you have any principles? Do you have any standards? Do you have anything that you firmly believe in your heart, in your soul, that you're willing to die for? You see, a lot of people don't want to hear that statement, die for what I believe in. Because anytime you make that statement, are you willing to die for something that you believe in? Anytime people hear that statement, they acquiesce, they back up. Because to make that assertion or that declaration that, I'll die for what I believe in, that's a big thing. Because it says something about you. Could say possibly that no one, no entity, no government, no person, no power can just take advantage of you and take your natural, unalienable rights away from you that were given to you by God since birth. That you are your own man or woman, that you are your own person, and that you're standing on that regardless of the consequences. How many people do you know like that? Are you one of those individuals that will stand firmly, as the Moors say, on your square? Will you stand on your own square? Will you stand firmly with both feet planted firmly on the ground? Will you stand firmly on what you believe in? And that you'll speak it from the highest mountain top, from the tallest building, because you believe in it that much? Or can you be bought out? Now, what are some examples of standing up to power, speaking the truth to power? I'm going to give you some before I leave. Just a couple small things for you to consider. Speaking truth to power. First of all, comprehend this, understand this. We live in the richest so-called country, richest nation on this planet. Why do we have the amount of incarcerated people? More than China. China has the largest population of people in the world. And the United States has the largest prison population in the world. The United States does. Can you say money? Does anyone have the confidence to speak the power concerning that? Will you challenge the president on that? Would you challenge the people who privately own the prisons on that? Or is it just simply the way it is? In our country, land of the free, home of the brave, the most prosperous country on the planet, we have the worst food system on the planet. What are you saying, brother teacher? How could we possibly have the worst food system on the planet? There are many impoverished countries and or nations, brother teacher, someone might add. How could we have the worst? It's our ideology, it's our agenda. Because if we had the best food system in the world, then we wouldn't be putting so many chemicals, so many carcinogenic ingredients in the foods that we're feeding our children and our families. And we go to the grocery store and we continue to buy it over and over and over again. only waiting for the years to pass and all of these things that builds up in our bodies manifesting in later years as sickness, arthritis, we get heart disease, we get issues with our colon, we have cancer, all types of conditions as a result of eating foods that are laced with or laden with toxic chemicals. But our government cares about us, right? Don't they? Don't we have an FDA, Food and Drug Administration? Why do they allow these food manufacturers to put poisons in our consumables, in our food? Why do they allow it? Is that something that we should investigate? Well, why don't you? I study it. I research it. I can't be the only source for your understanding. I can't be the only source and shouldn't be the only source in people like me for you to get what's going on. What have you challenged today? Have you challenged the public school system and what they're teaching your children? Or are you just dropping your children off there with a bunch of strangers that you've never known in your entire life? And they are indoctrinating your children with what you think is education. I'm just trying to get you to think, as my friend always says. And along with getting you to think, maybe take some action. Where does education start, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, it starts at the driveway that leads to the school that you take your child to, right? Or the bus takes your child to, or the bus that picks your child up and takes your child to. It starts there at that institution. That's where education starts, doesn't it? Are you that foolish? Are you that naive? Ladies and gentlemen, education starts at home. What have you taught your children lately? What have you? How to turn on the television, how to push a remote to turn the TV on, how to turn on the PlayStation and the Xbox and any other device, laptop, tablets, to get on the internet, on YouTube. God forbid they get on kids' YouTube, but they're on the mainstream YouTube, which is not intended for children, but you allow them on there anyway, not supervised. So are you speaking truth to power? Are you standing for something and not just simply falling for anything and falling for what society does? You just lockstepped, just in the pattern of what everybody else does, not being your own unique self. Who are you speaking truth to? What power are you speaking truth to? When you see a police officer gun down an unarmed innocent man or woman or child, are you enraged? Are you angry? Do you write someone? Do you make phone calls? Or are you just wishing that it wasn't you there? You're just happy that it wasn't you or your child that was that victim, right? Are you speaking truth to power? Or are you afraid? Are you afraid to stand up and speak truth to power? What about the medical industry? Are you speaking truth to power? When you take your child to the clinic to get an exam, or your husband or your wife or your mother or your father, when you go to the hospital to a doctor's appointment, do you question the dentist? Do you question the doctor? Do you question your OB/GYN? Ladies, do you question your doctor when you're pregnant? When you go to get your pap smears and your pelvic exams, all of these other various types of women ordeals? What is that you're using on me, doctor? What is that you're putting into me? What about your immunization shots? What's actually in the shot? What's in the flu shot? Do you challenge power? Do you speak truth to power? Or do you just allow them to do whatever their procedure calls for? Or whatever their principles and or standards call for? Or whatever their policy happens to be? What in the world are you saying, brother teacher? If you don't get it now, maybe you will never get it. What I'm really saying and really asking you is this: how much of your life do you actually control versus what you have allowed other people to control of your life? This is really the crux of what I'm saying. How much do you allow someone outside of you control your life and that of your families without you ever questioning what they're doing and why they're doing it, and holding them to task if they're doing something wrong? Do your study, do your research, and find out what you really represent and what you don't represent. Because if you're not afraid to start asking questions and to start demanding answers, then you're not free at all. You've been fooling yourself. You're not a man or a woman. You're really a slave. And your quality of life has been diminished greatly. Because if you don't speak truth to power, and if you don't let them know what it is that you demand, because you are in control of this, if you don't do that, men, women, and children, then you have given everyone outside of you permission to control you and everything concerning you. And you don't have power over yourself. They have it. So question everything. Challenge everything that you've ever been told if you really truly want to be free. What sacrifice will you make today? So are you a slave to the institutions and the corporations that you've been following all of your lives? Or have you decided that you're going to take a stand and be your own man or woman? Because that's really what true freedom is. And as I close, I want you to remember this. You probably have heard it before. Freedom is never free. It comes with a sacrifice. Are you willing to make that sacrifice? I'm out.